Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good. It finally feels like second summer is over and fall might be here finally.
Speak for yourself because we are heading to Michigan football game this Saturday.
And it's
It's a
gonna be
noon
blazing.
game, which is typically my favorite because I don't know, I like to have a bagel and sit in the morning and then be
Yep.
home in time for dinner. So it's like perfect for this old
Right.
lady. But it's going to be 87 degrees.
87.
That's not football weather.
No, that's criminal. 81 I could see being okay, but 87 is like
87?
July.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. It'll be dry though. Probably not. Oh, that's gross. I'm sorry about that. Oh, but I am jealous that you're going to a Michigan game. So you've got that going.
It's fun. It's always fun. And it's Wisconsin. It's Big Ten. It's a Big Ten game. So
Good.
those are always more fun than the weird rando ones like
The
New Mexico.
St. Mary's School for the Blind.
Yeah,
Never good.
that would be a game.
Well, some years.
Okay, so we have a topic today that is half inspired by a recent LinkedIn post by you and half inspired by a recent newsletter post by me. So I will set the stage and then we can jump in. So you put up a very smart LinkedIn post
Well,
about,
thank you.
welcome, about influencer crushes and why we have to be kind of careful about those. And when you're recruiting for a campaign, it can't just be about the people who you love and want to place on a campaign. They have to really fit the brief. And so it was about letting go of those crushes.
Hmm.
I just wrote, which you haven't even had a chance to see yet. So,
It's
surprise, welcome.
really fresh, hot off the press.
I just wrote a newsletter about parasocial relationships and how there are certain influencers who are really good at fostering that parasocial relationship with their followers
Mm.
and that they are incredibly influential from a from any type of content perspective, but because followers feel like they have this connection and relationship with these influencers, there's this like layer of disbelief that gets removed when there's a product mentioned or any kind of recommendation, because even if they're not actually your friend, it feels like it's your friend who's recommending something. And where I feel like these two converge. Most of my parasocial relationships are with podcasters. So, like Dax Shepard, Mark Maron, like totally feel like I know both of them, or with like local news people. So, when I lived in the Bay Area, I was obsessed with the Sarah and Vinny morning show. And like, I know so much about their lives. They do not know me at all. And then with influencers too. So I find there's an influencer I've mentioned a ton of times, Kelly Hampton. She lives here in Michigan and she just kind of cultivates this very cozy life.
Mm.
And her life is hard. I mean, she's a single mom. She has 3 kids. She's dealing with lots of issues with these kids. But something about her just really resonates with me and with a lot of her followers. I love her. I actually haven't met her, even though we've worked with her before. So she doesn't really know. She maybe knows who I am. She wouldn't recognize me from Adam on the street. I do feel like I have this parasocial relationship with her. I do find that I recommend her for campaigns.
Mm. Okay.
I don't recommend her. I feel like I'm pretty good at knowing the campaigns that she'd be good for.
Right.
I mean, I probably do have like that crush on her, but I feel like sometimes, like, one, I'm kind of all over the place, but one, I feel like there are certain types of creators who form that relationship with their followers. And so if they're forming it with you, Casey, and you're developing that crush on that person, maybe they're not right for every single campaign, but at the core of it, there's something that they're doing that's connecting with you as an individual, which means just kind of
Mm.
taking a step back, they are skilled at what they do and they're connecting with their audience. So if it's the right service or product, they could be a great fit.
See, to me, you just defined why anybody would work with any influencer ever.
Mm,
And I know you're saying parasocial as a means of kind of making it an outlier thing, like bigger than normal. But we always say that influencers deliver no like trust factor. And trust is like you feel like you know them, you feel like you trust them, you like them. I don't know the definition of parasocial that well to say, parasocial to me is bordering on mental illness.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry. Because I'm thinking of like Taylor Swift is going to release her album tomorrow and people have lost their minds. Like they literally, and they talk about her like she's a presence in their lives. Whereas what you're describing to me is the point. Like we do know, like, trust these people because they're inviting, because they're smart about whatever subject matter they've decided to write about. They do it in a way that's not manipulative, but just welcoming and engaging.
I mean, I feel like that's the ideal. And if you're talking about the very best in class influencers, they do that. I don't feel like everyone who's doing sponsored content does that. And then to take that a step further, we do lots of campaigns. We need lots of different types of people. Sometimes I need a bodybuilder. Sometimes I need someone who is a school employee in Washington State. Sometimes I need someone who lives in a tiny town in New Hampshire and loves going to sports bars. Like as influencer marketing grows and some of these programs get more and more granular and specific, you are not always going to be able to fill an entire campaign all with people who are incredibly skilled at this and do have that very strong relationship with their audience. Some of them might be nano influencers who maybe have it with a couple and we'll have it with thousands in a year or two, but they're still pretty small.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they can't create great content. And it doesn't mean that that content wouldn't be incredibly effective being reused on the brand's paid social. Taking that even a step further, on so many of the campaigns, on most of the campaigns we do, we include paid amplification. Very often on campaigns, the bulk of impressions are coming from paid amplification, which means it's not necessarily to the existing followers of those people. So even if they are skilled at creating parasocial relationships, they have not yet built up that trust factor with everyone who's seeing the content. So I think that there's this kind of gets back to that difference between creator and influence.
See, I disagree. I think that what you're describing is the natural outgrowth of an industry that is growing faster than it can keep up in terms of maintaining priorities around who we work with. So I would ask you, and I don't want to put you on this. Well, okay, I'll put you on the spot. But like if the client is coming to you and saying, we need education specialist elementary age in Northeast New Hampshire, I don't think you said that, and that's the goal, then that's the goal. But is it incumbent upon you as the agency and the expert to say, but to what end? Like, do you just need to put a butt in a seat, or are you actually trying to reach an audience that this person resonates with? Or just, so that's where I think we're off track in the industry in general.
Some of it is because the content has to be authentic. And if we're talking about an insurance product that's only available in one state and is only available for people who work as a school employee, I have to find someone who is a school employee in that state to speak about it, or else it's a violation of FTC guidelines. Like, to have that authentic, legit content.
So, but that's not authentic. That's regulatory.
Right. Well, and it's authentic. Like, they're able to say, like, I live in I live in this state. I'm eligible for this insurance. Here's why I'm considering it.
Again, I don't think that's authentic in the way that we talk about authentic. I think that's I meet the criteria of this avatar.
Sure. Okay.
And I'm saying things that are true. Listen, authentic has been beaten to death. So I don't know that we even adhere to it anymore. I think we mean authentic is relatable, engaging, like, this is who I am as a person and I'm sharing this piece with you because it's going to help you. So we're kind of in a great place, like in the weeds here, talking about
I feel like I'm talking about two separate things here. So one is, as influencer marketing grows and all sorts of brands are wanting to try it, and a lot of them have a lot of specificities about who can talk about it, whether that's authentic or regulatory or whatever. As it grows, there's all different types of campaigns. There's all different types of needs. Sometimes it's purely that they just need a ton of content. Sometimes it's more reach. Sometimes it's more engagement. Sometimes you're driving to sale. Sometimes you just need to get awareness out there. All sorts of stuff is happening. There is a place for lots of different types of influencers and creators and people who are both within this mix. So that's one piece. I think what I'm saying is we look at briefs and they say we want influencers who are authentic. We want influencers who are aspirational. And they use words like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what my article this morning is kind of asking us to consider is for certain types of campaigns where you really want to move the needle and just really drive that true engagement. Maybe what you're looking for is not authenticity, is not aspiration. Maybe what you're looking for is this person who has cultivated parasocial relationships with their followers over the years. And I talk about, like, I share examples of some comments you'll see in their comments.
But do you think influencers can do that without being authentic? Or do you think they're just leveraging their visibility and wink, wink, nod, nod? Like, do you think that Kelly is not authentic? Is it Kelly?
Kelly. I think she is, but I think it's...
Like, who among us would feel like we want to know somebody who's feeding us a load of BS or who's...
Right.
You know?
But there are I'm thinking about like the beauty and fashion luxury space. Like there are plenty of areas where there are lots and lots of influencers who are sharing stuff, but they're not sharing elements of their personal life. And if they're not doing that, you're not going to have the same type. Like I still might trust you to make a recommendation for which shoes I should buy, but I'm not going to like see you on the street and feel like I know you necessarily. And then the other piece of it, to answer the other part of your question, is sure, I think the ones who have these relationships are authentic. But when we're talking about briefing a team that's working on recruitment, just putting out that word, like find us people who are authentic, that's kind of wishy-washy and hard to find. And so what I'm suggesting is if we say, let's look for creators and influencers who have cultivated parasocial relationships, and here are some of the cues that you can look for that will indicate that they do that. That to me is that's a lot easier to act on in like a briefing process than just like find me authenticity.
Yeah. And I was also going to come back to the whole aspirational, authentic. That to me can be as much of a danger as the quote unquote creator crush when a brand team client has decided we need somebody who's aspirational. We need somebody you'll have to guide me through the regulatory on this, but talking about the teachers, insurance, and the only person who can talk about that experience is somebody who has the insurance. As a creative strategist, I would push back on that and say, what about somebody who's...
Yeah, that's not true.
Okay.
They either have to have it or they have to
benefit from it.
They have to be considering it. Like, so you can do what we often do with content like that, where it's just so hard to find enough people who actually have the insurance or, belong to the credit union or use that medication or whatever it is as long as they fit the criteria of someone who could do it, the post can be about consideration.
Right. So that
like
expands
if you're talking about a very expensive cruise, maybe we can't send everyone on that very expensive cruise, but someone who is within the target demographic could say like, I'm planning a vacation for next year. Here's one of the trips I'm considering. And here's why.
Or somebody who's been burned by their little small bank who started charging them $15 on their account every month out of the blue could be like, ugh, I'm really in the, market. And this credit union came across my radar, et cetera, et cetera. I just have to plug in my computer real quick. So the creator crush thing then is a bigger conversation about how do brand teams ward off and how do their agencies help them ward off this obsessive, like the influencer has to look like XYZ or it has to be XYZ, or
I feel like when I read your LinkedIn post about the creator crushes, I was thinking back to a client we used to work with, and she had so many creator crushes, and she would always insist that we include them on campaigns, and most of them were not a fit at all to the brief, but she
okay.
loved them and wanted
Yeah.
to work
And
with them
how do you
and
rein her in?
wanted, like we've had clients who want to work with a celebrity because they want to meet that celebrity and hang out with
Jesus.
them and like
Yeah.
be able to say I was on a Zoom call with this person. And
Right. I'm going to say some pretty maybe inflammatory things right now. As an agency, we have increasingly restricted our brand clients from deciding who the influencers are on campaigns. We give them wiggle room up to X% of the list if things like extraneous circumstances come up, like, oh, we forgot to tell you we've worked with this person before. It's on the list. We can't work with them again, something like that. Because these emotions get so wrapped up into the decision-making process. And also it saves the brand client. It's our job. It's our job to do that. That's what they're hiring us for. And we lay that out way up front so that they understand what they're hiring us for. And it avoids a lot of this. And it avoids it's an awkward conversation. But the other piece that I think is kind of inflammatory is I look across our industry and I look at the decision makers who maybe it's the CMO putting budget into influencer, but probably not, maybe a VP, director of marketing. Those people more and more don't really understand what's going on with influencer marketing, like on a boots on the ground level. They may be the decision maker, but there's this big disconnect in the decisions they're making and the outcomes and the actual campaigns. And this is an example of that. The senior leadership who's like the influencer discovery vetting piece is the fun part. Everybody loves that part. But so what? You've got to hand it to somebody who's got a checklist, a rubric, a vetting guideline, who's agnostic about it.
so let me ask you this, because I loved your solution of saying like, okay, that's great. We all love these people, but they still have to match this rubric. They still have to match the vetting list.
Right.
So let me ask you a question, because this is coming up more and more and more, and I think it's generational. I think it's language. I was watching last night's Survivor, and there's an older guy on a tribe with a bunch of younger people, and they had this very funny little montage where all the younger people are like, we're the vibes tribe. I love the vibes. Such good vibes. Oh, this is fire. This is fire. And he was like, I guess I have to learn to talk like this so they don't vote me off the tribe.
Right? It's called Survivor.
But
yeah.
I can't tell you how many meetings I have with clients where we, are going through the strategic brief and talking about what we're recruiting against. And it's no longer just they have to fit this demographic and live here and be this. They have to match our vibe. It's a vibes thing. And then we send them a list of creators and they're like, okay, I like this one, and this one, but this one's not the right vibe. Help me understand. Vibe is very hard to translate into a brief for a team to recruit against.
Yeah, that's why they shouldn't be doing it. I'm not kidding. So my advice to you
but they're not doing it. We're doing it, but they're not like, I get that you're saying you're not letting them, but like
don't let them weigh in on it. Unless you say
I'd have to sell my house and be living on the street. There's no way.
No, here's what you do. Here's the business move. Up front, when you're pitching the business or when you're onboarding them, you say, here's how we know the outreach vetting of influencers goes. We know it's everybody's favorite part. And inevitably, Sue, we're going to, we take over this. Is the person's name Sue?
That just made me laugh. I'm glad you didn't say Karen.
Trying to ease off on poor Karen. So you say, here's how we handle it. This is our process. This is our, we are charged with knowing you and this campaign so well. And we're going to work through that together, that we're going to go off, we're going to create this list. We will bring it back to you, but there's inevitably a point where you or someone on your team is going to get cold feet around one of these influencers. And we know from our experience that our vetting is second to none. We are 100% confident in who we're giving back to you. So when that inevitably happens and you're feeling wishy-washy about our suggestions, how would you like me to handle that? Because the temptation is you're going to want to put the kibosh on somebody who's going to really outperform. And I want guidance from you right now on how to call you. Like, can I call you out on that? What's the language I should use? Set it up. I have a mentor who calls it like leaving a key so that you go back later and unlock that situation. Plant the seed with them. Let them know, we know this happens. You didn't hire us to be yes people. You didn't hire us to be pushovers. You hired us to keep your project safe and your goals met. And in the heat of either pressure from different voices in your internal teams or the excitement of vetting people, the shit hits the fan. And you're not going to know that's happening in real time, but we do. How can I talk you through that?
I love this in theory.
Well,
and I have some clients who would say, thank you, this is great, I love it. And I have just as many, if not more, clients who would say, that sounds really terrific, and I hear you and I trust you, but I have all of these other decision makers and stakeholders within my organization, and that is not going to fly with them, and they are not going to give you this budget unless they feel comfortable.
Okay. So Danielle, our conversation just took a left turn because literally we could spend another hour talking about how we as agency owners teach our brand clients to buy from us. And ultimately, I believe anybody listening here who's built a business or done business building classes or mentorship or whatever, those are not the right clients for you. They're just not. And I know that's hard to say in this area, like arena where it's feast or famine. So I'm not suggesting either of us back away from steady work and bringing in clients. But at the end of the day, I think those clients or the other piece is anybody who's breathing down that client's neck needs to be in the room. They need to be talking to you. They need to be part of the process.
This is a relationship thing. And I think it's probably not quite as binary as we can kind of convey in a 20 whatever minute podcast.
Absolutely. I mean, Liz and Danielle and I are talking about this stuff offline all the time. So it's just like it's spilled over into this. I am gung ho about the idea though of us as experts, us meaning you and me, agency owners, experts, first movers, founders, showing up very powerfully for our clients and not apologizing for it. I'm not saying I do it perfectly. I understand what you're saying about the dynamics in it, but especially as I am watching this industry almost implode on itself, like it's almost caving in because of silly things like trying to scale complex systems that aren't scalable. Anyway, I won't go into that. But as I see that, I think more and more I feel obliged to step up and say, like, we've got to take a step back and focus on what's the real priority here. And so part of it is being a better communicator and relationship builder with my clients so they know exactly what they're getting and why. So I feel you. I know it's not binary, but I'm just here to like light a fire under you. Like, you deserve clients that totally worship the ground you walk on.
That sounds great.
Note to everybody listening, worship Danielle. She's a badass. She's a guru.
So I don't think we solved anything today, but it was a fun
romp through.
And I just love thinking about the types of relationships we have with the influencers in our lives and finding different ways to define them and finding different ways to kind of measure the level of certain, not authenticity because we were talking about that, but like
in your newsletter,
effectiveness.
Did you put out the tips for spotting a parasocial?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so smart. Like I'm hanging on every word around that. Like, oh, if you can tangibly tell people how to find that, that's gold. So that's where I'm going next. Yabba do. I'm skedaddle right off of this and go read your newsletter.
Amazing.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. More next week. Bye.
Bye.